Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, c'est moi. How you doing? Welcome to a Friday. Yeah. I'm heading into a weekend that's as busy as anything Monday through Friday has offered me, so I don't know. Thank God it's Friday. Maybe. It is the 15th. God, halfway through September. So, guys, a lot of follow-up today from things that I was talking about yesterday. Number one, I started yesterday's show with an obituary on Cassini. I was 24 hours early. I don't know why. I knew it was going on Friday, and I somehow thought yesterday was Friday. I thought that a number of times yesterday. So, no, Cassini died this morning. Really, there's a lot of people now, because Cassini's gone, there are people just discovering that it was ever there. And my brother, for one, who sent me just reams of pictures that Cassini has taken of Saturn and its moons, and they really are astonishingly beautiful. I mean, this little, I guess not that little, it's about the size of a school bus, Cassini was. And man, it's a great photographer. It was a great photographer. Jeez, that's beautiful stuff. There's one where I think you sort of see an edge of Saturn and a little bit of a ring, and then under it, there's just this expanse of black, the universe, and there is a white dot, and I mean, it is smaller than a dot made by a really well-sharpened pencil. It is that tiny. It has to be pointed out, and even then, if it's pointed out, you might think, am I seeing that? Okay. So there's Saturn right here with Cassini, and that little dot is us. Puts you in your place. It really does. All right, so there was that yesterday in which I was providing incorrect information, or just premature information. And also yesterday I was talking about Harvard and this program of visiting professors they have at the Kennedy School, visiting scholars, I believe, and the strange crew that it has given that designation, from Corey Lewandowski to Chelsea Manning, to whom I'm forgetting, to former Congressman Chavitz, jerk, no matter how you pronounce it, and on and on and on and on. Oh yeah, Mika and Joe. So there we go. So now that was a place saver. That's all that was. Back in the day, we would have said, so apparently some folks who were at Harvard found out about this new crop of visiting scholars same time I did, and freaked, including somebody who was with the CIA. His name is Morell. You might remember that name way back. He fired off a letter to the dean or the president and said, I'm out of here. Now, the one visiting scholar that freaked him out was Chelsea Manning. And then somebody else, I think Pompeo, who's currently the head of the CIA, went ballistic. So Harvard, always strong in its conviction, immediately rescinded the invitation to be a visiting scholar to Chelsea Manning. I wonder if we could get them to rescind the invitation to Corey Lewandowski, who there's tape of assaulting a woman reporter during the campaign. Harvard, boy, are they unlikable. Boy, are they. And they're craven. Somebody sneezes, looks at them cross-eyed, and they like, zzz. Apparently the recension of the invitation to Chelsea Manning came in the dark of night. I mean, it was like past midnight or something. Oh, the lights were burning late in the president's office. Oh, what do we do? So Harvard is I guess they give invitations a lot to people and then say, oh, on second thought, never mind. Because yesterday as well, I had talked to you about that story of the woman who'd served decades in prison for murder of her child and had become a crack historian while in jail and had been accepted to a Harvard PhD program that only took 18 people in the entire country. And how after getting that acceptance, a few people said, oh, but this might open us up to criticism from the right-wing media and also from some of our alumni who may have had daughters or sons who didn't get in and a murderer did. So I really don't know. And they rescinded her invitation. What a bunch of jerks. And the jerkiest thing was that one of the professors there who was agreeing with the pulling back of her invitation was, he said, well, you know, Harvard, everyone at Harvard is the elite of the elite. And I really think that, you know, this woman would have been, essentially said, in over her head. Obviously not an elitist. She was poor, black, and a convict. Not our kind. Repulsive. Harvard. Okay, so yeah, the Harvard dean backed up. Man, they really stick to their guns. Tough crowd over there at Harvard. Strong fellows. They've said now it was a mistake. Yeah, right. Who's accepting that? The school's dean is accepting full responsibility. Yeah, his statement came out shortly after midnight. So Chelsea Manning will not be doing Harvard, which is okay with me, frankly. I mean, I don't care. This whole program seems absurd to me. Also, yeah, they totally caved. Totally caved. Oh, they did say about Chelsea that she is still welcome to spend a day at the Kennedy School, if she would like. I apologize to her for not recognizing up front the full implications of our invitation. What? Oh. So she's not happy, and nobody seems happy, and that's fine. Hell with them all. So the Prime Minister of Great Britain has already this morning rebuked the President of the United States for a tweet. Man, he is tweeting today. Good God Almighty. He's tweeting about, let me think, ESPN, about hurricanes, about terrorism, about the wall. He's just off and he's spewing. You got to wonder if the days when he goes ballistic like this with his tweets are when he's having a bad day or when he's feeling particularly powerful and tough. Anyway, May, the prime minister, is extremely upset that Trump immediately, after hearing that there had been a blast on their subway, that he immediately said, loser terrorist, blah, 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 blah. And May said it is unhelpful to assume things during an ongoing investigation, to call for any action when we're just trying to figure out what we're dealing with here. Not helpful to speculate. Did you see that Trump said the other day, because there was a lot of criticism, excuse me, dang it, there. There was a lot of criticism of the fact that our neighbor, Mexico, we don't share many borders. We just got two. We got two neighbors. Think of most countries. They got 1 million neighbors. I exaggerate only slightly. We got two neighbors. And one of them suffered a big earthquake in the last week. Killed a bunch of people, demolished a lot of property. And then right after the earthquake, they got hit by a hurricane, one that seemed to have bypassed us, Katya, I believe. And Trump took a week to get in touch with the Mexican president and say, hey, we're with you. Sorry if there's anything we can do. Now, guys, that's not even, first of all, it's just common courtesy. Your neighbor is suffering. You call up and say, is there anything I can do? We're thinking of you. And Trump does these things selectively. He only, so people in Mexico were really offended, especially since after Hurricane Harvey hit Texas, Mexico stood up immediately and said, we can send some of our military people in. They know how to set up, food stations and other things. We'll come to your aid. Never mind, we sweetly said, apparently. So we did not acknowledge their suffering, while they had been quick to acknowledge ours. Finally, after, of course, hearing all of the complaints about this lack of civility or common courtesy or empathy or even just by the playbook what any idiot would do, Trump finally makes the call, I guess yesterday. And he said, and when I saw this, I think it was in a tweet, he said he was really trying to get through to the Mexican president for days and days and days and days and days, and cell phone coverage was just impossible. Maybe I can find and when I saw that, I thought, I mean, first of all, my understanding is that presidents of countries have communication connections that the rest of us don't have access to. There's such a thing as a satellite phone, I think, that could have worked real well. A friggin' passenger pigeon would have made it, days before Trump ever got through. So, yeah, that was his explanation. Here's the tweet. I found it. Spoke to President of Mexico to give condolences on terrible earthquake. Unable to reach for 3 days because his cell phone reception at site. Well, first of all, for 3 days, the president of Mexico was not at the site. He was back and forth to Mexico City, which, by the way, a lot of people were calling from and to, and no problem. So this is another. He just can't help himself. He has to lie. It's an effort to cover up his lack of neighborliness, and of course, if he thinks no one's going to call him on it, it's bull, and has only further enraged Mexicans. Where did I see a poll? Mexicans, if you polled them 10 years ago, how do you think, what's your sense of America? They thought, or Americans, they thought highly of us. They liked us. Not so much anymore. Close to 3/4 of Mexicans, when asked now, have a negative perception of the United States. But of course, Trump has done that in country after country after country after country. I mean, all over the world, people are looking at us with revulsion and horror and fear. So this is... Commentators in Mexico were quick to call out Trump for the cell phone excuse. Didn't go over well south of the border, apparently. So that's it. God. I don't know. We're getting inured to this a little bit, without a doubt, a little bit. Where I used to feel astonishment and rage at things that Trump did, I now just hear myself exhaling a little bit, just a little sighs. That's all. It's as if we're beaten down. You cannot keep up a level of response that we had in the early days of this wondrous administration. Oh, and he was dissing Obama today? What was he? There was one tweet about how, hey, I've done more to battle ISIS in 8 months than Obama did in 8 years. I doubt it. These boasts have no fact behind them. Fact. What's fact, Mommy? Well, it's this thing that people used to agree on as a sort of settled truth. Like, this table is hard. My hair is soft. Those, I guess, are kind of maybe facts. But now we don't have facts. Everybody has their own, so there's nothing that we all can agree on. So I did not know that Candace Bergen went on a date with Donald Trump. Did you? Wow. This is when they were both young. She was set up. That's not, she was set up by a friend, supposedly. Hey, there's this guy, he's really, he's got tons of money. And he wasn't bad looking back in the day. So, Candace said, yeah, okay, right. Like she needed a blind date. God almighty. So Candace Bergen went out with Donald Trump when they were in college. And her memory of it is, first of all, the picture she paints of his arrival is just classic. She said he picked her up wearing now he would have had to be what? He was like 20 or so, 20. He picked her up wearing a 3-piece burgundy suit and burgundy leather, patent leather loafers. He would have looked like Ron Burgundy. Right? It's probably the 70s, maybe. 70s, 80s. Yeah. It would be the 70s. So he had a burgundy three-piece suit, burgundy patent leather loafers, and I'm not done. He arrived in a burgundy limousine. Color coordination. So she said she thought he was good looking, but she also thought he was a douche. She's not giving us a lot. I mean, I wish she'd tell us more, but that was it. She never went out with him again. He was a douche. Yeah, well, you had that right. Meanwhile, Candice Bergen was did all this on some cable show in which she was wearing a sweater that had two words on the front. Then they were Free Melania. No, just saying. I think Melania could free herself if she wanted to. I don't waste a lot of time thinking about her. What else we got here? Do you know that one of the little islands that took the initial brunt of Hurricane Irma when she was churning and gaining awe-inspiring strength in the Caribbean, whatever you say, was an island called Barbuda. And I remember when they said it's zeroing in on Barbuda, and I thought, Barbuda? I'd never heard of it, but there it is, and there it was, and do you know there's not a living soul on that island now? It's gone. Not quite. It's sort of worse than that. Every human that was on the island, that called that island home, has now been taken from it, evacuated, because it's uninhabitable. There have been people on that island living for over 300 years, and it ain't there. I mean, it's a tiny little place. It's 60 miles, 60 square miles. And let's remember that Irma, who was a Category 5 when it hit that 60 square mile dot in the ocean, was 400 miles in breadth. It just swallowed it up. What's amazing is that people survived it, and they did. But they're all gone now. And so what's left on the island, this is so awful, are animals. The dogs, the pets, the dogs are left. The pigs and the chickens and any other wildlife that might have been there. And people are saying now that there's some effort to get the dogs out, not because we love dogs, but because the dogs are going to literally eat all the other animals, they think. So these poor animals have been abandoned to a horror. So I'm reading this article about it, and I see that after they say that 300 years of human occupation on this island has now been extinguished, the next paragraph says, And reconstruction could cost up to, and I thought, what? So they will rebuild. I guess people get really attached to certain geographic spots. You know, the population of this little island was 1,800 people. And we're going to spend, or someone's going to spend, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild homes on that island? Why? Especially given that it sits right in the middle of, well, Hurricane Alley, right? What is this rebuilding thing? Why does nobody ever say, well, you know, I think Mother Nature was trying to tell us something here. This one's unsustainable. It's too little, and it ain't going to make it. But they have an ambassador to the United States, and the ambassador says he's working with the American Congress and the Organization of American States, the OAS, to ensure that there is financial aid so people can begin to repair their homes, their businesses, and return to everyday life. And I hate to be a Grinch, but I say no. Stupid. And I say that about whole neighborhoods of Houston. I would say that the same about New Orleans. I would say the same about coastal areas in Florida. No, I, for one, don't want to keep paying to rebuild places that have, in the last 10 years, suffered destruction or near destruction more than once. At some point, don't you just say, I don't think this makes any sense. In Houston, there are a number of neighborhoods where people are actually starting to ask, should we maybe not rebuild? The question is starting to be asked. I'm sure these people are not going to prevail. But these are neighborhoods that used to be, and I've talked about this before, wetlands. They were wetlands. Even just 50 years ago, okay? They were wetlands near the bayous. And developers with dollar signs in their dreams went and developed these neighborhoods. And the one neighborhood that I'm talking about, and I'm blanking on the name, is middle to upper middle class. I mean, it's really nice houses, expanses of green, lawns. And it shouldn't be rebuilt. It should be returned to its natural condition. Thus, you do obliterate one neighborhood that should never have been built. And in so doing, allow nature to reestablish itself as a wetland. And believe it or not, when the next hurricane comes by, neighborhoods that around it that were flooded during Harvey will not suffer the damage because the natural ecosystem and wetlands will take care, will allow water to do what water does without harming homes that shouldn't be built in certain places. I don't know. The fact that anyone in Texas is actually starting to talk about this is amazing to me. You know, we foot the bill. I've said it a million times. We foot the bill because the capitalists have abandoned the idea of making money off of flood insurance in these areas. They can't make any money there. So then we, taxpayers, step in and say, we'll cover. Why? stupid. I came upon an interesting piece in, I think maybe it was the New York Times, I don't know, about Angela Merkel, who's about to win re-election. I mean, they must not have term limits, I'll tell you that. She has been the chancellor of Germany for what, like 20-some years or something. There are little children even young adults in Germany who've never known another leader. And there's a fascinating article about the fact that she is undoubtedly the most powerful woman in the world. And yet, Germany, when it comes to women, is, believe it or not, unbelievably behind where most countries are. Now, I think of where women are in this country, and we're still behind. We're still playing catch up, trying to get an equal place in leadership roles and corporate governance and all that stuff. But compared to Germany, man, we are a feminist paradise. So how odd that the Germans have no problem with a woman in the most macho position there could be, which is running the country and, in fact, essentially running the European Union, standing up to Vladimir Putin, standing up to the President of the United States. Just this stolid, smart person. Yet in Germany, women can't get anywhere. I was stunned by this. 93% of board members of the Germany's 160 public companies are men. 93%. Nearly 3 out of 4 of the corporations have absolutely not a single woman in an executive position. 75% of German companies, it's all men. Women, it's not even considered. In fact, a law got passed which said, this is a stupid law because there's no teeth in it. There was a German law that got passed that said that these corporations had to publish a target number for the women they intended to have at the executive level in the next year or so. They have to do this by law. We're targeting, here's the number of women we want to bring in. And do you know that most of the corporations that responded to this law put down as their answer to what's your target for women employment in executive positions? They put down 0. They put down 0. The bias against women working, especially in executive positions in Germany, is so intense that younger German women are starting to demand that Germany revisit this, much like America attempts to revisit its racial problems. Young women in Germany say that the way women, the gender issue in Germany, is a piece of their historic baggage that has never been addressed. Never. Even with Angela Merkel at the helm. And one woman is quoted as saying, just as Obama did not end racism in America, Merkel has not ended structural sexism in Germany, which is just apparently as stubborn a reality as American racism. In some ways, some women in Germany say Merkel's power and her long tenure has actually made things worse in some ways, because if they complain about not being able to get anywhere, they are immediately told, what do you mean? You can be chancellor of the country. What do you mean you can't get anywhere? It's weird. Here's something interesting about the history of Germany. So the Nazis really held women up in high esteem as baby makers. The Nazis awarded medals to women who made Aryans for the fatherland. Then when Germany, post-World War II, got divided into East Germany and West Germany, an incredible dichotomy happened. In West Germany, women did not work, or if they did, they worked at menial woman kind of jobs. In East Germany, under the commies, women studied physics. Women drove cranes. They went into blue collar, white collar, everything. Women in East Germany rose. Meanwhile, over in West Germany, until 1977, a woman in West Germany needed her husband's permission to work. Isn't that weird? I mean, stop and think of what you think of. Oh, the West Germans were like us. They were wonderful and free. People were free. East German was a terror state. And yet they made use of their human capital. They weren't about to say, oh no, if you have a vagina, you can't help us. You can't be somebody who will move us forward. That's smart. Guess where Angela Merkel grew up? East Germany. She has no children. She grew up in East Germany. So, I'd not known this. I made certain assumptions that if the Germans were comfortable having Angela Merkel, a woman, at the helm, that they would also then have a lot of women in other political and corporate positions and academic positions, and they ain't there. So Germany's run by a woman, that's it. Hey guys, by the way, we're gonna stay here at Pittsburgh City Paper. We are intending to move one conference room over. It'll be the same background. It's just slightly maybe different people will walk by. I don't know. I doubt it. And we hope to do that next week. Mm-hmm. And we also hope to have a phone system in place. We are purchasing the equipment, and as soon as we get it installed and up and running, I'm hoping Monday might be stretching it, but Tuesday? Wednesday?
By Wednesday. Let's
okay.
shoot for Tuesday, but by Wednesday. It shouldn't be
Definitely by next Wednesday, because I can't do this talking to myself in this room much anymore. You can tell. Today I'm sort of flagging, I have to admit. So we'll get it all together again, and I'm I'm thrilled. I really am. What else we got here? I don't have much. I feel like is there anything happening that you want me to talk about? I don't know. There was one little story that I saw that we didn't talk about and that I haven't seen much about, but I found it fascinating. So it was about two young, Silicon Valley types who'd gotten money and put together a thing which they feel, I guess, will make them gazillionaires. And I can't remember exactly what they're calling it, but I think it's like bodega something. And for those of you who don't know what a bodega is, if you live in New York City, let's say, there's a bodega on every corner. And it's a little shop, usually run by an immigrant. And they have like the essential kinds of things that you might, need. They have they maybe have a little bit of food. They got a little bit of personal hygiene products. They got, they have stuff that, oh my God, I don't have. And so you can run out. A bodega can't be more than a block away from you. They're all over the place. And they're sort of like quasi-neighborhood ma-and-pa operations. And these Silicon Valley twits looked at that and decided, hey, we could make this box. And it would have all the things that these bodegas have. And we could put these boxes everywhere. We could put them on the corner of every place in the world so that people could. And what they invented was essentially a vending machine. I saw the thing and I thought, well, what do you mean? You worked on this for how long? It's a vending machine. It just has different kinds of things. But it's different in that, there's an app. And you can open it up and you take something from it and you're immediately charged for anything you take. I don't know. It's got a logo that's a cat. That set people off. Because one of the fixtures of many bodegas is there cats in them. Probably cats to keep the mice away. These are working cats, but they're part of the atmosphere, the ambiance. And when these guys rolled out their big invention, all hell broke loose in social media. Man, social media, the mob forms fast. To say that these guys were stunned at the reaction. But I found the reaction sort of wonderful in a way, because what people were reacting to is, wait a minute. You mean your intent is to take these wonderful little neighborhood places that allow so many immigrant families to make a living, to send money back to family, to do all the things, and to work hard and to provide a real service in their neighborhoods. Places where if you live in the neighborhood, you know the guy, you know the whole family. Everybody's interacting. You're going to take that away and stick a big vending machine where this human and feline interaction was? It's one of the things that gives flavor to people's lives. It's one of the things that gives the ability to have a life to an awful lot of hardworking immigrant families. So social media reacted with rage. There was rage about even calling their damn vending machine bodega anything. I guess cultural appropriation, which I would not personally sign off on. There was rage about the cat logo because quite clearly you know exactly what a bodega is and you want to replace that wonderful human thing with this stupid ass friggin' vending machine. So the guys who thought they were about to become billionaires are now like, okay, all right, okay, we hear you. I guess they're going to take the cat off. They're not going to call it a bodega. And now they're saying they're really thinking that this will work well in suburban areas, which might be true. Every little suburban cul-de-sac can have one of these damn boxes. Won't have a cat, won't have humans. But if you run out of tampons, there they are. I wanted to say tampons twice in, 2 days in a row on the show. I can go years and never say tampon. But yesterday I did, and today I did. So that's one of the stories that we didn't talk about, but that I was sort of, and that jerk, speaking of these young sons of bitch jerks who all they know how to do is raise money, what's his name, the pharmaceutical, SHV, Shrekley, that's that SOB. I mean, clearly he's got some kind of a serious personality disorder where he loves to be hated. That has to be it. Where he engages in constant behavior that makes people recoil. And that he had that, and yet he was able to rise. So that he was rich as hell. And now he's in jail, and I love it. He was out on bail because he got convicted of doing stuff you can't do, but he was out on bail. And you did hear what he did. He tweeted something about, hey, $5,000. I'm giving $5,000 to anyone who can get me hair from the head of Hillary Clinton. Right? Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't remember what his reason was, although he does collect odd things. But the judge in his case saw that as a threat of assault to Mrs. Clinton. The Secret Service saw it that way too, and they upped her security because she's out amongst the people now with her book tour. And of course, for $5,000, I can see somebody going for some hair. You know, the best way to get hair from somebody without even them knowing is pluck it off their clothes. I mean, we all, don't we shed? God knows I shed. God, I shed. There's always sort of, hair. Just got to look. Becomes more obvious if I wear black, but there's hair. If you want a piece of somebody's hair, that's where you can get it. Oh, God. So I watched a few more episodes of the OJ thing last night. And here's a mind-blowing thing. One of you actually emailed me, Mary, emailed me yesterday when I said I was watching this. She said, have you gotten to the part where, and I hadn't, but I did last night. Unbelievable. See, we find things that we didn't know this when it was happening. That's what I love about this thing. You're finding out stuff you never knew. The jury was brought to the crime scene and also to OJ's house because both of those locations were involved in the criminal investigation. So the jury was bussed over to both these scenes. Johnny Cochran went over to O.J.'s place, knowing this was going to happen. He looked around, and he said, this ain't going to work. He had gotten himself a majority African-American jury. And that was how he was going to get O.J. off. So he needed O.J.'s house to appeal to the black jurors. And the house O.J. had looked like something out of, Southern California rich white person house. There was no sense of it. There was no sense of black in it at all. So Cochran, actually, he's pulling stuff off the walls. He's importing African and black themed art and sculpture, and he changes the pictures that are on the walls. So that when the jurors came, they saw a house that O.J. never lived in. Wasn't his house. I mean, it was physically, but it had undergone a total makeover just to influence the jury. Who knew? And how could that even be legal? Meanwhile, they went over to Nicole's, the murder scene, and the prosecution hadn't thought to have like pictures of her and her children in the house so that it would be the house of a woman who was a mother and didn't see the opportunity. In fact, everything in her house had been taken out so that it was just this sterile place. So you see how little by little, I never understood, how could that jury have let him go? Watching this thing, wow, you can just see it. You can see them build this case to the point where if I'd known half of this stuff, I wouldn't be surprised a bit when he got off. Fascinating. The People versus O.J. Simpson, if you're looking, 10 parts. Some of it I think gets a little absurd, but most of it is, I think, brilliant. This Ken Burns piece on Vietnam, speaking of television, I don't have the desire to watch. Why is that? I feel the same way I did when I initially didn't watch this OJ thing. I thought, geez, I suffered through it. What do I want to watch that again for? But I have a feeling it will be like the OJ experience, in that I will be reminded of things I've forgotten about. I will find out historical fact that I did not know, that in living through something, got by me. I don't know. But if you're, I don't know, when does that start on maybe it starts Sunday, or maybe it already did. I don't know, but I just don't know. Chuck writes, your comments today about the devastated island just serves to remind us that we live in a very delicate world. Yeah. Wildfires, hurricanes, tsunamis, tornadoes, Mother Nature serves up many a challenge. I also heard, Chuck writes, the other day that in the 70s, the world's population was 4 billion. It is now double that. We cannot continue to keep this ever-growing, delicate world safe. Oh no, you can't expect us to keep it safe. Are you kidding? And the more of us there that populate this beautiful little blue orb, the more this beautiful little blue orb is going to be endangered. There's no doubt about it. I think that it's possible to have 8 billion, 10 billion people living on this earth and to have everybody have enough food and all of that. But that's if we were different. If we had organized our human society in different ways. My understanding is we produce enough food to feed everybody in this world. We just don't know how to. We don't distribute it. We don't distribute the resources of the planet with any equitable intent, and seem to, in fact, be moving in the opposite direction. So, I don't know. Okay, guys, I'm sleepy. What else? Do I have anything else? No, I don't. I don't have nothing. That's as much as I... Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm empty.
Start the weekend 3 minutes early.
Yeah, we can start the weekend 3 minutes early. I think we can, as far as I'm concerned. Unless somebody wants to shoot me a quick email. Boy, I can't wait till we got the phones in here, guys. Won't that be something? Won't that be something? I am so happy that I'm staying here. I really am. So, yeah, I'm not seeing anything else that I can share with you, so let's just call it a day. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you again on Monday from Pittsburgh City Paper Studio. Woo! Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.